Okay, let's dive into something huge. There's a major strategic shift happening in global finance, a power play that's been building right under our noses. And it's all built around a system designed to challenge, well, the very foundation of economic power as we've always known it.
I mean, just think about that for a second. We're talking about a weapon, but not one built with steel and explosives. Nope, this one is built with financial code. And its target? The entire global economic order.
So what exactly is this hidden weapon? Like I said, it's not a missile. It's not an aircraft carrier. It's financial infrastructure. Yeah, I know. But to really get why that's so powerful, we first have to understand the system it was specifically designed to get around.
You see, for decades, the reality of the global energy trade was pretty straightforward. If you wanted to buy or sell oil, you did two things. You used US dollars, and your banks talked to each other using a network called SWIFT. That's it. And that simple setup, well, it gave the United States an absolutely incredible lever of global power.
And here's exactly how that power works. See, because every single one of those dollar transactions has to touch the U.S. financial system, it gives the U.S. Treasury what's called a jurisdictional hook. And this, right here, is the key. It's what gives them the legal authority to monitor, to freeze, or to completely block transactions anywhere on the planet. So when you hear politicians talking about sanctions, this is what they mean. We're not talking about warships and blockades. We're talking about financial exclusion. It's the power to just cut a country or even a single company off from the entire dollar-based system, which effectively locks them out of the global economy.
What this all creates is an immense choke point. And if you find yourself on the wrong side of U.S. foreign policy, well, that choke point can be squeezed tight, cutting off your economic oxygen. It's that reality, that vulnerability, that forced other global powers to start asking a really, really critical question.
What if you could build a system that never ever touches the U.S.? A system that creates a totally parallel track for global trade. You know, a system where your transactions are completely invisible to the U.S. Treasury, where that jurisdictional hook just doesn't exist. This is the strategic problem China decided it was going to solve.
And their answer is CIPS. It stands for the Cross-Border Interbank Payment System. It was launched back in 2015, and its entire reason for being is to process international payments using China's own currency, the renminbi, completely and totally outside of the dollar system. I mean, when you put them side by side, the difference is just stark. On one hand, you've got the dollar system. It's visible to the U.S. and it's vulnerable to U.S. sanctions. But on the other hand, you have CIPS. It operates in renminbi, it's outside U.S. jurisdiction, and from a U.S. perspective, it's effectively sanctions-proof. It's a direct countermeasure to the dollar's choke point.
And look, this isn't just some theory on a whiteboard. CIS is active right now. In fact, its use has been massively accelerated by major geopolitical events. So, the big question is, who exactly is using this parallel system to get around sanctions?
Well, it's a pretty fascinating mix of players, actually. You've got China's smaller independent refineries, they call them teapots, and they're using it to buy sanctioned Iranian crude. You've got the so-called shadow fleet of oil tankers, the ones that operate in the gray areas of international law. And then, of course, you have the big guys, major oil producers like Russia and Iran, who are settling more and more of their energy sales to China through this exact channel.
Now, this didn't just happen overnight. After it launched in 2015, CIPS saw, slow but steady adoption. But the real game changer? Geopolitical tension. As the threat of U.S. sanctions became more and more unpredictable, traders started desperately looking for a safer alternative. And CIPS became that alternative.
And all of this brings us to a much bigger trend, one that economists have been debating for years: de-dollarization. Now, to be clear, SWIFT didn't start this trend, but it has absolutely become a powerful accelerator. It's pouring gasoline on the fire. I mean, just put yourself in a trader's shoes for a minute. If the rules for using the world's main currency can just change overnight because of politics, that whole system starts to look dangerously unreliable. When sanctions on Iranian oil were suddenly slapped back on, it created absolute chaos. Suddenly, stability was the most valuable commodity in the world. And traders, they found that stability in CIPS. And here's the crucial part. This isn't just a temporary shift. It costs a lot of time and money to change your payment systems. So once a trading relationship moves over to CIPS and the renminbi, there's almost zero incentive to switch back to a system where, let's be honest, you could be frozen out at any moment. This migration, it's becoming permanent. And this is how de-dollarization is actually happening in the real world. It's not some big dramatic event where the whole world suddenly drops the dollar. No, it's a quiet, steady migration. It's happening in the background. One oil deal,
one shipping contract, one transaction at a time.
And the results are concrete. You can actually measure them. The slice of global oil trade that settles outside the dollar system, it's growing, and it's growing fast. We're talking about a move from around 20% to 30%, and now it's heading towards 40%. That's not a rounding error, folks. That is a fundamental change in the global energy market.
Which, of course, brings us to the ultimate question. What does all of this actually mean for global power dynamics? I mean, why does a payment system matter so much?
Well, the logic is pretty inescapable, really. The power of U.S. sanctions is directly tied to how dominant the U.S. dollar is. So if less of the world's trade, especially for something as critical as oil, is done in dollars, then the ability of the U.S. to influence events by cutting people off financially, well, that power just gets weaker.
And that is why CIPS is being called a strategic weapon. Its power is an explosive, like a bomb. It's corrosive. It slowly, quietly erodes the very foundation of a key pillar of American foreign policy.
And this might be the most powerful idea of them all. Think about it. In a world where economic warfare is waged with financial controls, building your own independent payment system isn't just a technical upgrade. It's a strategic act of the highest order. It's like you're creating a whole new battlefield, one where traditional military might just might not matter as much.
And so, we're left with this final thought. As global power shifts and technology races forward, what really constitutes a weapon anymore? In our hyper-connected world, maybe, just maybe, ultimate power no longer comes from the barrel of a gun, but from the architecture of finance.